gets past the Senate,
yes,
in their advise and consent capacity,
there's no age. There's no age. You don't have to be a lawyer. You didn't have to be a judge. You don't even have to be a citizen. It doesn't say it anywhere in there. For the other two branches, it says it. So these people have the ultimate authority to strike down a law that was passed by the people's representatives, the elected people's representatives, with no appeal. How is that possible, Gene? There's no way the founders intended that. Also, and this is something that Kavanaugh agreed with, which I completely disagree with, is that he thinks that the Supreme Court should be able to strike down parts of legislation. Now, in the modern era, a law like Obamacare could be 18,000 pages long or whatever the hell it was. No one could even read it. But within that 18,000 pages, maybe there's something in there about a pipeline in Nebraska connecting two sewage treatment plants. And maybe that one provision is unconstitutional. So Kavanaugh believes that the Supreme Court should be able to dissect that out and let the rest of the law stand. Now, I could have sworn, Gene, that the Supreme Court, not long ago, I think it was in the 90s or early 2000s, decided that the line item veto for the president is actually unconstitutional. That if you strike down part of a law, you have to strike down the whole law because the Congress voted on the law in its entirety. So where does he come off saying that the court can judicially review parts of laws and only strike down parts while keeping the rest of it intact? To me, that's insanity. There's no way.
Well, here's where the power lies. And this is a legislative solution. In every piece of legislation that I see that passes, that becomes law, whether it be a local law in the city of New York, the People's Republic of New York, or state or federal, there's always a section about severance, which says that if any portion of this law is deemed to be unconstitutional, the rest survives. So normally that power comes from the legislature, and then the court follows through with that legislative intent to sever whatever may be a bad or unconstitutional portion of that law. So that's
why would
the legislature does.
But why would it be unconstitutional then for them to put the same provision in saying, this law, we vote to pass this bill into law, providing that the executive doesn't line item veto out any of the provisions he doesn't agree with. The rest of them should be in effect.
Well, the veto power is not a legislative power that is granted to the president, right?
Correct. It's a constitutional power.
Right. So if you want to give a line item veto, then you got to amend the Constitution.
Why? They're basically giving the courts a line item veto through legislation.
Well, it's a back end to judicial review. If there was no judicial review, there would no need to put a section called severance into any legislation.
But do you see what I'm saying? There is not even a judicial review in the Constitution. It's one false premise on top of another. This is insanity.
I was so not prepared for this discussion. Oh, man, it's good to have you back, bro. It really
Oh, my God.
I was not prepared for this, but we've been having this argument since 2012, I think it was?
Yes, it's the same argument. I love when it's the Supreme Court justice that comes up because I can't wait for the next one, Gene. I really can't. I was speaking to my girlfriend. She was saying about they're basically going to have to weekend at Bernie's for Ruth Bader Ginsburg for the next 6 years.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, she might very well be dead already. Who knows? But they're going to have to pretend she's not for the next 6 years because God forbid this guy gets to appoint another one. I can't wait to see who he picks.
All I know is that we make plans and God laughs at that. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg, if you want to hold on, God bless.
Really?
Man, this is not where I was thinking this show was going to go, but this is awesome because nobody else is having this discussion out there at all, Russ. And that's
no way.
What we do. This is why we need to get together more often, man. I'm telling you.
100%. We got to get back on the horse here.
Well, absolutely. All right, we're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, we got a lot here to talk about. We're going to talk about some Antifa escalation across the country. And is the first poll of 2020 really upon us here? We got a lot to talk about. Gene and Russ, Behind Enemy Lines, back together again. We'll be back right after these brief words. Behind Enemy Lines.
I'm voting in the midterm elections because
my constitutional right,
because my ancestors died.
To make it better for my children.
The women before me fought.
So we can remain free.
Helping your community out.
Midterm election.
I know every vote makes a difference.
My opinion matters.
I vote.
I vote. I vote in the midterm election.
Register now on IamAvoter.com. And don't forget to vote Tuesday, November 6th.
Brought to you by I Am a Voter and the Ad Council.
If you're a long-time listener of the show, or maybe this is your first time listening, you can probably tell that me and the gang here, we like to have our share of fun, whether it's on or off the air. We talk about 2-drink minimum radio and no medication Wednesdays or whatever day it may be. That's why when we found the people at Less Government, More Fun, we knew it was a match made in heaven with this show. Folks, we live in a time where government is out of hand. Our founding fathers did not intend government to be all-consuming in all parts of our lives. That's why we are telling you to go to lessgovmorefun.com, check out the website, check out the swag. What the people want is less government, more fun. Pass it on, make it happen.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org, brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Behind Enemy Lines Radio is all about being right. No, seriously, it is. If you ever listen to Russ Gallo or me go back and forth on some issue, we always want to make sure that we remember who said what and when we said it. That's why we go to goonrecord.com. It's a brand new social media website. Challenge people on what they believe, whether it's in politics, sports, entertainment, finance, whatever. There's a category for you at goonrecord.com. Check it out right now. Tell us, what do you stand for? It's time for you to go on record. Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air. Gene Berardelli, back behind Enemy Lines. And joining me on the line, I was just having a conversation with her off the air saying I knew her when. She has now blown up everywhere in conservative media, mainstream media. We're talking about regular appearances on Fox News, the Hollywood Conservative on Rebel Media, America's Voice, and she's also the spokesperson for the Committee to Defend the President. Amanda Head, my goodness, do you sleep?
I don't, actually. I'm running on, I think, about 8 hours of sleep combined the last 2 nights.
Well, it sounds like you're a lawyer, my goodness. That's
it's fun, though.
Oh, it's got to be a blast.
I truly wouldn't have it any other way.
Well,
especially, leading up to midterms, it's like, this is go time.
Oh, absolutely. We're just 3 weeks out. And the first thing I wanted to bring up to you that we haven't really talked about in any other segment is, I guess we're going to call her Fraud Cahantas or Pinocchio now. We'll stick with another Disney character maybe. But there you go. Senator Warren, with her revelation and her DNA results and all this, did she just go into business for herself and say, screw the midterms, I'm going to make this about me?
I think she did. And, it's got to be infuriating for Democrats because it seems a little selfish. Like you said, we're 3 weeks out. Now should be the time when everyone on the left is, supporting each other, getting the word out about any races in their own state, any big races across the country. Now is the time to be doing that. But Elizabeth Warren, I suppose, has her eyes on 2020, and she's, first of all, who is her PR person? Because this was not a smart move. I want to know who on her team said, you know what, 3 weeks out from midterms, I think it's a good idea to reveal to the entire country that you are half as likely as every other American to have any Native American. You have half the amount that an average American has. And, we were just talking at dinner. I'm in Nashville on the ground campaigning for Marsha Blackburn. Actually, Gene, our PAC chairman, Ted Harvey.
Absolutely.
He and I are both here. Yeah, and we were having dinner with my parents. And my dad and I were talking about how, we always thought that we had Native American in us. because we've got, the slitty eyes and the strong jaw and the high cheekbones and all that kind of stuff. But I never actually used that on an application. Like, I never actually used that to get a scholarship or get a job or anything like that. And, it takes a twisted individual, especially someone on the left, to harp on the American people daily about white privilege and then lie about a minority status to get a job.
Oh, absolutely right. But bringing the folks back to the midterms, I know you with Marsha Blackburn right now, another friend of the show. How are things looking down there, especially with the Project Veritas expose on her opponent? Are you feeling a different vibe while you're there?
Yeah, the Project Veritas thing was really, really interesting because I had just finished like a 6-show streak for like the 2 days prior to the release of that video, preaching to Tennesseans about how you can't trust Bill Bredeson's moderate status. The people of Alabama got duped into doing that with Doug Jones, and I don't want Tennesseans to fall in that same trap. And then lo and behold, this video comes out where you've got 2 of her campaign staffers basically admitting that she purposefully lied because she knew that most Tennesseans support Brett Kavanaugh. So she lied to to the Tennessee people and said, I support him. And so, everything that he has said up to this point regarding being a moderate, you kind of have to call into question because he was willing to say all of these things. And the campaign staffers are openly admitting that, yeah, the guy lied. But what we have seen on the ground and what we have been hearing from the people who we are partnered with, who have been on the ground here, I think, 17 days, they said. We've got a team of people door knocking. They are incredibly inspiring and inspired. Getting out, talking to people, knocking on doors, spreading the word about Marsha, collecting data. They have this snazzy new app that was never around when I was young, and I was knocking doors.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing.
Yes.
The technology that's available where you can get information about voters now and transmit information back to the campaign.
Yeah.
I mean, not to get nerdy, but it really is cool.
It is, and I love it because as a millennial, it's bringing more of my generation into the political game, and it helps them to feel like this is something that they can do. This is something that belongs to them. It's hard to talk to younger generations, Generation Z or whatever the one is that's even behind millennials. It's very hard to get them to become, it's like trying to tell a millennial to read a newspaper. It's just not the mode of information that they're used to. So it's exciting to see people here are inspired. But beyond the Project Veritas video, we were, again, just talking about this at dinner. I mean, stark contrast between before Brett Kavanaugh confirmation happened and after. It's incredible. And this is not an isolated race. I guarantee you this is happening all over the country, where you've got some races that might have been teetering on the edge with mixed polling. And then after the Kavanaugh confirmation, you've got people who are either on, just barely on the left or middle of the road, who look at that and they are just disgusted by what the Democrats did, and they might not be totally in line with Republicans, and they might not totally agree with things that Republicans do and say and feel and legislate on, but they know that the Democrat Party in its current state is just not something that they want to be a part of or to support.
Absolutely. We got about a minute left, but I want everybody to know about the Committee to Defend the President. Some people probably ask, why does the president need defending? He seems to be doing a pretty good enough job of doing that on his own. But it's for races like this where, yes, you're helping out Marsha Blackburn, but by doing so, you are strengthening the position of the president as well, right?
Absolutely. And that's why Marsha is one of our key candidates, is because, this is a seat formerly occupied by Bob Corker. We would really like to have Marsha in there because, quite frankly, I feel like Marsha would be an upgrade because she has pledged her support to this president and pledged her support to his agenda from day one. And so, as opposed to Bob Corker, where you always kind of had to wonder which way he was going to vote, and he seemed to have such a deep-seated hate for this president that sometimes he would even vote against his own heart just to kind of get a dig in at the president. So that's why we wanted to help Marsha, and we are confident she is currently, I think, 14 points ahead in New York Times live poll. So things are looking good. We're excited.
Well, that's great. Folks, if you want to find out more about the Committee to Defend the President, check them out at www.